What are the current approaches to solving this problem, the current thinking within the creation movement on this? Well, the first one is called mature creation, otherwise known as light in transit. Getting back to our formula, this is a questioning of the idea of distance. Has light actually traveled for all those billions of years to get here? Or maybe the light beams were created in place, covering those distances already as part of God's initial act of creation. Now remember, for each of these ideas, I'm trying to present the best arguments for them. That doesn't mean I'm endorsing them, or for that matter, denying them. I'm just trying to present what those who hold to these views would argue for. So, could God create light beams in place? Well, sure. He's the creator. He can do anything he wants. Would there be a reason for him to do so? Well, conceivably, yes. If the heavens are to declare God's glory, shouldn't they do it right away? Shouldn't Adam wake up to a sky full of stars with all the light beams and everything else all set up for him to look at? So this idea is called mature creation. The idea that the creation didn't have to develop after Adam was here because it was already functional and mature in place. Some people like to call this idea the appearance of age, by the way, but that's a misnomer. I don't like calling it that way, and a lot of other people don't too. It doesn't look old, it just looks functional. There's a difference. So the idea going, God created a mature creation. Now we know this is necessary in some ways anyway. Did Adam wake up to a pile of fruit seeds and pits on the ground that he had to plant and wait 4 or 5 years for fruit trees to have something to eat? Well, no, he woke up next to mature fruit trees. So at least some of the creation had to be made mature. Why not the cosmos too? Well, some people are advocating for this. Others don't like it. One of the primary objections is that this would make God a deceiver. It would make him deceptive. How's that? Well, one good example of this is this supernova right here. So in the year 1987, a star that we previously had seen as a star, we know what star this happened to, the star blew up in a supernova explosion. And this has been very instructive, and there's good astrophysics going on here because we've been able to watch the explosion happen and then the subsequent development of the remnants of it over time, which is something we rarely get an opportunity to do. So it's been good in that sense. But for our purposes tonight, it's important that this star was 168,000 light years away from us. That means that this beam of light in between us and it, under a straightforward LTT interpretation, that light beam is 168,000 light years long. Now, if this had been created in place by God back in creation week, that means that light beam had information in it in different parts of it. What do I mean by that? Well, this arrow here represents the light beam coming to us from this object out there. Now, for 6,000 years, if people on Earth had looked in that part of the sky, they would have seen the star. Then, in 1987, there was an explosion. That means that the first 6,000 light years of the light beam had a picture of a star in it. Everyone still with me? And then over time, as we consumed the light beam, so to speak, and the amount containing a picture of a star was being used up, so to speak, until finally in 1987, we saw the image of the supernova arrive, along with some particles and other things accompanying this explosion. Now, if God created the light beam in place, we saw a star that never actually existed, right? We watched an explosion happen that never actually existed. We haven't consumed the entire light beam yet. There's still 162,000 years to go before we reach the end of this light beam that God would have created as is in this interpretation. So does everybody see the objection here? We saw all this stuff in the sky that God didn't actually make. That makes God a deceiver. Well, an answer to that argument would be, not necessarily. Was Adam deceived when he woke up next to mature fruit trees? But God said, hey, this is day 6. I made all this on day 3. Adam could say, well, it looks like it's been here a while. At least he could say that after he learned about fruit trees. But then, would he be deceived? No, because there's the Creator there telling him, This is 3 days old. Again, I'm not endorsing or disparaging this viewpoint. I'm just trying to present different angles of looking at it. So if, as we've already said, some part of creation has to be mature, the earth does at least, where do we draw the line? Is it only the earth that's mature? Can we not have any stars created mature with their light beams? Well, in a sense, actually, there's at least one star that had to be created with its light beam in place, and that would be our sun. Our current understanding of solar physics tells us that light is produced by solar fusion inside the sun, photons. They work their way out to the surface. Now, they're being absorbed and re-emitted constantly, so it takes them time to get from the middle of the sun where they're made out to the surface. In fact, it takes thousands of years. Now, once they reach the surface, now they zip through space at the speed of light and reach here in a little less than 8.5 minutes. But it takes them thousands of years of working their way out to get there. So when Adam woke up on day 6, could he see the sun? I think so. The sunlight he saw wasn't produced by solar fusion. It was created partially en route, somewhere underneath the sun's surface. So perhaps by today, we're finally seeing photons that are actually produced by the sun's interior furnace, if you will. But for thousands of years, that wasn't the case. So a mature creation argument would seem to apply, at least in some regard, to the sun. Whether or not you extend that outwards to other stars is up to you.